Welcome back to episode 2 of the Flight Plan podcast. Thanks to everyone who joined us for episode 1. I think we're a little overwhelmed by the numbers considering it's a new feed and all of that, but we're already up over 800 subscribers here on the feed, Zach. We want to get that to 1,000 as soon as possible. The old feed, we were up over 5,000. So we have goals we want to get to here, but thanks for all the nice comments as well, whether it was in the comment section here on YouTube or on the Discord over on Badlands. It's so fun to be a part of that as well. Lot to get to on the episode today. We're going to do our big predictions episode. We've done this for years now, but we're going to do a whole bunch of over-unders for the season for the Jets. And then we'll go game by game and do our predictions and see how the Jets are going to finish this thing out. Predictions sure to go wrong. But before that, there are some news and notes we want to get to, Zach. Before we get to the news and notes, do you have reaction on being one episode in to Flight Plan?
Oh, it's been a blast so far. I feel this community we joined is pretty awesome. I think pretty quickly people have followed us over here, which I appreciate. We're hoping to keep getting the subscriber numbers up here on the YouTube, but it's jumped up pretty good so far. Going to keep rising. I know a bunch of subscribers have joined along with Badlands since we joined too, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, it's been cool to be a part of this community, and we're excited. We have fun things coming up on this pod. We have some ideas you and I have been floating back and forth that we're going to start incorporating as we really get into the thick of it. But yeah, no, I'm enjoying it so far. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're going to lean into the fact that you are in the know on this team, and you're, in the locker room and talking to these players, and we'll bring as much of that as possible to the listeners from week to week. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. As far as the news goes, the first news item is no news. Hassan Reddick still holding out, still no new contract extension. Although you tried to get him to talk, Zach, part of a small group of reporters, right? Staking out a charity event on Tuesday night. And you guys got the stiff arm from Hassan.
Yeah, it was a little event in Jersey City, which is where I live. He was in the Heights, my old neighborhood. I kind of went into it thinking he probably
was that your lead with him? Like, welcome to the Heights?
Well, no, he didn't really speak to us in general. Like, he said hi to us.
Didn't even get that
walking in. But I'll say the people that were running the event were very nice, and they tried to help us out and stuff like that. There was only 3 reporters there, which I was surprised by because it was like news that he was going to be doing this. But you kind of wanted to be there because just in case he said anything, we had to be there. And I'm happy I was there too because, we joke a lot of times. A lot of this job that we have is just standing around waiting for people to talk to you for 5 minutes. Like, that's what the locker room winds up being. That's what it winds up being when you're just in general covering something. You wind up waiting. So Connor and I were there for 2 hours. Another reporter joined us about an hour in. But I got to see some scene setters and interesting things that I'm probably going to remember and refer back to as this Hassan Reddick saga plays out. Things like, he showed up late because he was in traffic. He was coming from Camden, New Jersey, which is where he's from. So he drove all the way from South Jersey to North Jersey in the same region as where the Jets are for a charity event. And then I'm pretty sure he drove right back after. So
didn't stop by Florham.
Yeah, that part I found funny. He was very happy to see all the fans, and he did a great job, interacting with all of them. But I did find it funny, moments like I overheard a fan being like, I hope the Jets have a great season this year. And all he said was, we'll see. He didn't say it like in a mean tone or anything like that. It was more like, yeah, we'll see. There was like a magician that was like showing him a trick. I posted a photo of that, and some fans had some fun with that idea that he was, watch as millions of dollars disappear kind of jokes were coming up. He went on stage. When we got there, we were told that he would be taking questions from kids in the crowd. And so in our heads, we're like, well, we know he's not going to talk to us, but like, what if we, there was an ice cream truck there. What if we just slide some ice cream to a kid to ask a question for us? Unfortunately, he didn't wind up taking questions. He just came out, went on stage, said hi to the crowd. Thanks for coming. And he said something like he's new to this community and he wants to, I forget. I don't have the phrasing in front of me right now. I have the video, but basically was like, I want to be a part of this community or something like that. But it was
just not the team.
Yeah, it was like very, yeah. I don't think he meant to say it like the way he did, and I don't know if this is why, but we saw him as he stopped talking, he was like all frustrated with himself, and I don't know, he like muttered something under his breath, and so I don't know if he was mad at the way he phrased that, thinking that people would jump on it or whatever. And then we go up to him, we ask if we can ask him a few questions, and his manager says no, very nervously for whatever reason. The manager was not expecting us there, I guess. And
that's surprising, actually, because it's not like he's coming from, I don't know, like another team where there's less media, right? He's coming from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
If he was doing a charity event,
it would have been, there would have been more.
There's no question.
Yeah,
Bo Wolf would be there.
Yeah,
well,
there would have been more in Philly, I would say. And also, and this kind of, you and I have talked about this dating back to our previous podcast. He had that tweet like way back when this holdout started, where he tweeted something like, "Don't believe everything you hear." Like this is another opportunity for him to tell his side of the story while everybody is, reporting the other side, which is the Jets and their frustration. And Joe Douglas come out and talking, and he very easily could have helped himself, I think, by talking to anybody. Ideally, these three reporters that are standing right in front of him, say whatever you're going to say. Say why you're holding out. Say what you feel the Jets did to betray you, any of that stuff. But he didn't want to do that. So, because, it's not our job to appease this guy's manager, we waited out. We weren't in the charity event. I think some people were like, why would you like hound him during a charity event? We didn't hound him during a charity event. It was over. He was like waiting for his car to come pick him up. And as he was walking over to his car, a few of us, kind of TMZ style, we're like, do you plan on reporting? Do you want to be a Jet? He kind of just like, I think he was taken aback by us being there, and he didn't look very thrilled about it. But he did not answer that. And that was the end of my 2-hour journey to Jersey City to not talk to Hassan Reddick. And another weird moment in this saga that does not appear to be ending. But, as we've been saying, tomorrow, Thursday, or some people will listen to this today, Thursday. And he very easily could show up and not want to miss a game check. Like tomorrow's practice. They don't practice on Wednesday because they have a Monday night game. So Thursday is their first practice of the week, other than the walkthrough they had Tuesday. He could show up Thursday. He could show up Friday. Heck, he could show up Saturday. And he probably technically would be fine for his game check, even if he doesn't want to play or whatever his plan is. But as of now, it does not feel like he's coming back, I would say. Like I didn't come out of, and another anecdote I forgot is there were a couple Jets fans that came up to him with Jets helmets that he signed, which I think some people interpreted that as he brought the helmets. He did not bring those helmets. He did have a green hat, green colored hat, and like green shoes on. No Jets logo though. So we'll see. It's a situation that, the Jets just watched as the 49ers brought both of their guys holding out back in, just as the Jets guys still refusing to play. And so they're the only team in the NFL with a holdout at this point, because I think Jamar Chase practiced today too. So it's it's ugly. It's annoying. Ultimately, it has not been as big of a distraction as I thought it would be, but happy to contribute to the distraction, I guess, with trying to get him to talk to us and failing.
Interesting. The Niners got the guy who would, in theory, protect Brock Purdy from Hassan Reddick back in the lineup in Trent Williams yesterday. He'll be ready to go on Monday night against the Jets. All right. The next piece of news and notes we wanted to get to was Michael Carter II, who did get a new deal from the Jets, and he spoke today. Let's hear from him first and then get your thoughts, Zack.
Can you speak of your journey from maybe the time you were drafted as a fifth-round pick to now to be in this position?
Yeah, man, I think, I came in here, obviously the game's a lot faster than college, and it took some getting adjusted to, but once they kind of, were like, all right, you're the starter, it was no more, time to babysit. I had to grow up really fast and just be thrown into the fire and just learn on the fly. And so I appreciate the team for that. That really taught me a lot about myself and how to handle adversity, and as well as how to handle, outside noise and just be more intrinsically motivated. And so I think year two, bringing in Sauce and DJ, I think that even more so than seeing that standard and seeing how good they were, I knew I had to match that. And then just the defense as a whole, from the linebackers to the D-line, from year one to now, the standard that has been set and the standard of excellence, I really had to match that because we want to be number one. And that's really all it's about. And, when everybody's doing their job at the highest level, like I said, everybody benefits from that. And so I think, having everybody motivated in that same sense of just, I'm going to do my job so my brother can do his, I think it just allowed me to play more free and be more confident and ultimately just take more and more steps to elevate, year after year. And, this isn't even, the best of what I am right now. We're still getting better and better and better and learning. And so I'm excited, to win games this year.
It's a long answer about his journey to this point, and obviously getting paid. Great news for him, a guy who, as I mentioned off the top, a low round draft pick who from kind of day one, Zack, showed that he belonged in this league.
Yeah, he, Joe Douglas, and rightfully so, got a lot of criticism for his early draft classes, especially 2020 and 2021. But Michael Carter II was, an absolute home run out of that crew. And he kind of flown under the radar even within like Jets draft picks. I think everybody focused so much on the misses in those drafts, which were so obvious. Whereas you get Michael Carter II in the 5th round. I believe he came out and he was listed as a safety by some people. And he became, if not the best nickel corner in the NFL, one of the best. Statistically, you could argue he was the best. I was surprised that the contract came out. Will Parkinson deserves some credit because I think he alluded to this being in the works. Our now teammate, I think he's tight with MC2, but he alluded to this being a possibility. But I didn't see it coming just because I haven't got the sense that the Jets have been dying to give extensions past this year to anybody right now because I think they're trying to see what they have this year and then decide if Woody's willing to go all in on, next year and the year after and all that stuff. So it's a very reasonable contract, $10 million a year, or basically at max value, which I don't know what the incentives are, but $10 million a year at max value for one of the best nickel corners in the NFL, an underrated member of one of the best defenses. He kind of lets Sauce and DJ Reed do their thing on the outside because he's taking care of business in the middle. And he lets the guys up front. I think he's very valuable to this defense. Highly underrated player around the league. The fan base loves him. And he has he's one of those stories that, over the last few years, the Jets deserve a lot of credit for of developing talent and, the patience that comes with developing a guy. Success stories like him, Quincy Williams, Bryce Huff, all these guys that they've developed and, taken under their coaching and this defensive staff's coaching, Tony Oden specifically here. But the coaching staff in general, they've done a great job of developing talent like this guy. And, there's something to be said about the patience that comes when you just let a guy develop. And Michael Carter's been playing a lot the whole time, but he's, he is a much deserved contact. So it's a pretty cool moment for the franchise.
Speaking of defensive backs getting paid and some effects that'll have on the Jets, Patrick Surtain, the second new deal from the Broncos. And this one is a market setter, 4 years, $96 million, $77.5 million of that guaranteed. So 24 per year. Obviously, Sauce Gardner is going to be up here. Zach, I assume Sauce will want more than 24 million a year based on this contract.
Yeah, I am very curious to see how this plays out because I don't know if there's anyone. Maybe Derek Stingley would be the other one that'll get a huge deal, but I think Sauce is going to pretty obviously set the market wherever he lands. 25 seems to be the minimum at this point if Surtain's getting 24 a year. Surtain and Sauce, I think, are probably have the two best cases at the best corner in the NFL. So, Sauce is, he's kind of been tweeting, so he doesn't really hide how he's feeling, but I'm just fascinated how next offseason is going to go with these extensions because they have so many guys that are up for new deals, especially from that 2022 draft class where you could argue all 4 of the obvious guys, Sauce, Garrett, Breece Hall, and Jermaine, all deserve big new contracts. And I don't know that Woody's going to be willing to give all 4 of them those deals, but Sauce is 100% absolutely have to do it. No questions asked. he's, a cornerstone franchise player. But, Woody has at least joked or referenced the fact that he's going to have to give a lot of money to all these guys, because I think after the Quinn and Williams contract, he even saw it on Hard Knocks. He made a joke about, or a comment about how much he was paying Quinnen. So it's going to be fascinating. But yeah, I'd expect Sauce Gardner to make at least $25 million a year. If somebody between the Surtain deal and then when Sauce is eligible gets a deal that's even bigger than Surtain, then the number is going to keep going up. His number won't be as high as Garrett Wilson's, because receivers' contracts have been going up, 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 and up. Like, Garrett's going to make over 30 a year probably if he stays healthy. But just crazy. Like, you're gonna have contracts between those two guys where they're going to make close to $50 to $60 million per year combined between the two of them, which is a good problem to have because you have two star players. But Sauce and Garrett are definitely watching all these contracts that have been coming out because they're about to get paid.
Yeah, it makes the rest of the roster tricky. It's hard to keep a team good in the NFL for those reasons. Okay, let's move on to the predictions, Zach. We'll start with the over-unders. Some of these are return from last year. By the way, looking back on last year as I put this together, we did not do well. A lot of that is because a lot of the different over-under numbers kind of leaned on the fact that Aaron Rodgers was going to be the quarterback of this team. So the moment that didn't happen, the numbers across the board were down, and we had given a lot of overs. I have a lot of unders here, but I don't think I'm necessarily being pessimistic. I just think that there's only one football, and you got to spread it around. There's a lot of talent on this team. But let's start here. Aaron Rodgers, game started, and we're putting this the same place we had it last year, which was 14.5. Last year it was 1. I'm going to say under again. I'm going to say under, but I think it'll be significantly more than 1. I just think at some point,
between 1 and 14.5 is what you're saying?
Much closer to 14.5, but not going over. That's my prediction.
I'm like, predicting games played is such a tough line to walk, because there's no way of actually knowing what's going to happen with this. But I'm going to go optimistic for once in my life. I'm going to say over. I'm going to say he plays 15 games, and he either misses 2 or he gets a rest at the end of the year or something like that. But I think if Rodgers is playing 15 games, 14 games, even 13, the Jets are probably a playoff team. So that should tell you about where my head's probably going to be at with some of this other stuff. But I think he's going to stay pretty healthy. We'll see how he looks coming off the Achilles, but I say 15 games.
All right. Up next, more sacks, Haason Reddick or Bryce Huff. You can go first this time.
Haason Reddick. I'll say Bryce Huff, just because I don't know when or if Haason Reddick's going to come back and when he's going to be in game shape. So, whereas I think Bryce Huff is in a system now and on a team with, not like he didn't have talent around him in New York, but he's on a very talented team. He's going to get a chance to rush the passer quite a bit. He'll probably play more snaps than he did with the Jets. So if he approaches 10 sacks again, I wouldn't be shocked. Whereas, if Reddick's holding out games, that reduces his chances. And for all, I don't know what kind of shape he's in. Like, he looks like he's in shape, but as everybody says, workout shape is much different than football shape. And he has not practiced a single time since last year, since the end of last season with the Eagles. He has not practiced. So I'm going to say Bryce Huff on that one.
Yeah, I have Huff also. All the same reasons. I assume Huff is going to play starting week 1 through. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt. Whereas who knows when Reddick starts playing. So I'll go with Huff just for the opportunity factor. Back to Aaron Rodgers for our third one. Touchdown passes, over under set at 29.5. 2021, he had 37. 2020, he had 48. So he went 48 in 2020, 37 in 2021. 26 in 2022, and obviously none last year. So we set this at 29.5, which based on his career feels low, but I don't know. I'm actually going to go under. I think, again, he'll be near that, but under. If he only plays, based on my pick, if he only plays 14 games or 13 games, then I think 29, 28 is a fair place for touchdown passes.
Yeah, I was going to actually say under. I think I'm trying not to base current predictions off of previous ones, just because I think he's going to play more than 15 games, there's also a possibility he doesn't. So I think I say around 28 touchdowns. I think they will be pretty run heavy with Brees. And Garrett Wilson is the only like surefire touchdown guy you see on that, because you don't know what you're getting out of Mike Williams. And Conklin, as much as I think he's going to have a big year, didn't have any touchdowns last year. So in terms of like guys, you're like, all right, that guy's a lock to get X amount of touchdowns. I only see Garrett as a guy who I think is going to get a nice chunk. So I'll say 28. But if Rodgers does wind up playing 15 games or more in a 17-game schedule, I mean, over 30 is very conceivable, of course.
Of course. Speaking of Brees Hall, Curtis Martin's franchise record for yards from scrimmage is 1,942. So that's where we're going to set the over-under for Brees Hall this year. Will he break the franchise record for yards from scrimmage?
I'm going to say yes, he will. I'm going to say Brees plays every game and breaks the record. Like as for what I said about no guaranteed touchdowns, yes, but I think it is guaranteed that he's going to have more involvement in the passing game from the get-go. I mean, I shouldn't say guaranteed. Aaron Rodgers didn't have like a huge history of like throwing to the running backs a lot. Like that was kind of a thing in Green Bay, but I think Brees is a new beast. So, or Brees is a new Breest, whatever you want to call him.
Well
but I say over. I mean, that's probably maybe bold because, Curtis Martin, I feel like outside of Jets fans, like just looking at his numbers, I think he's maybe underrated in his career just because he had multiple years with just insane stats that he put up. Like he was before his time. Like imagining him now, like I'm curious what his career would have looked like or notoriety, but he was an absolute stud.
I'm going to go over too. Brees gets an extra game, obviously, that Curtis Martin didn't. It was a different game, though, where, your bell cow back got more carries back in the Curtis Martin days, but Hall's going to get plenty of carries. So I think he gets over, too. It'll be interesting to see if he can hit 2,000. There's that little window between 1942 and 2000. All right, Garrett Wilson, 99.5 catches. Your turn.
Yeah, I'm gonna say if Rodgers, like I said, is playing 15 games and Garrett's playing them, he's gonna get so many. He's gonna funnel targets. And I did like I do every year. I tracked all the throws from training camp and the practices that I was in, and like I think the target share that Garrett had was like something like 50% or something crazy. And that's just in practice. So obviously things are gonna be different. Mike Williams is out there, all that stuff, but I think he's gonna get over 100 catches. I think like I said last year, wound up being wrong because he didn't have quarterbacks thrown to him, but he's going to be one of the 5 best receivers in the NFL at the end of the season.
Oh, lost my spot here. All right. After Garrett Wilson, back to the defensive side of things. Sauce Gardner, interceptions, 3.5. I have over. He usually doesn't get the interceptions. Either he's avoided or whatnot, but I'm going to say this year he does, and he gets over 3.5.
I'm going to say under, and then he gets 2 or 3. He still has to show that that's part of his game. That's a big talking point this offseason. They've all said it, but I'm going to go 3.
All right. Team sacks, 47.5. Last year they had 48. So you take away Bryce Huff. You thought you were adding Hassan Reddick, but so far you aren't. So I'm going to say under.
Yeah, I'm going to say under too. The Reddick factor, you also lost JFM. Quentin Jefferson got 5.5 sacks, lost him. You're replacing him with Kinlaw, who has had some trouble staying healthy in the past. Solomon Thomas had, I think, 5 sacks last year. Quentin Williams had less than he did the year before. You'd think he'd probably have more this year, but so yeah, I'm going to go under. But, again, if Reddick comes back, I think that number could pretty easily get beat because I think Hassan Reddick is good for 10 sacks when he plays. So.
All right. Quinnen Williams sacks, 9.5 is the number we're setting it at. I'm going to say under.
Yeah, I'll say under. That might be a little high of a over-under because he had 5.5 last year, but 7 or 8 sacks is still a pretty good year for an interior lineman.
We talked last year, I think, going into the year a lot about could he get 10? Could he get 10?
Yeah.
So I put it at 9.5 anyway, so we could just have that conversation again. But I agree, it's tough, especially with the amount of attention that he gets. Greg Zuerlein, 50-plus yard field goals, 6.5. What do you think?
Greg the leg. Do you know how many he had last year? Do we have that? Let me
No,
just pull
I
that
think
up.
it was. I think it was. I think it was under.
Let's
Say it
see.
was 5.
He had 5 last year, 6 the year before. So 6.5. We should probably move that over under down, I would say.
You want to make it 5.5, and we'll
let's
go
make it
with
5.5.
All right.
Anyway, I think I'll still probably go under and say he gets 5 again. But because I think their offense is gonna be like there's gonna be probably less
Score more
situations.
touchdowns.
In theory, there should be less situations where he has to kick a 50-yarder, but he can, and he's a stud. So although he did miss a 30-yarder in the preseason, which was alarming. But
Jets Pro Bowlers 4.5, which this year feels so. Sauce, Garrett, Quinnen.
Rodgers.
I mean, Rodgers, based on the fact that half the league quarterbacks end up being Pro Bowlers because of people dropping out.
And there's like Quincy.
And that's
Mosley.
4. So there's your line, right? Like, so then after that, is it Quincy? Is it, I'm going to say
Mosley, Reddick. Like these guys are all hypothetical.
I think one other player pops up and they get to 5.
Yeah, I'll say 5 as well.
Wins 9.5.
Maybe we should save that because we're going to do our game by games. I feel like we should.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got some.
Tyron's.
We can run through these a little quicker.
Yeah, let's go quick. These two go together. So we
Yeah.
have Tyron Smith games played and Olu Fashanu games played. Tyron Smith 13.5, Fashanu 4.5.
Yeah, I'm going to say under. I say
which adds up to 18. By the way, that doesn't make any sense. But anyway.
Well, but Fashanu could start at right tackle hypothetically too.
Oh, that's yeah. That could be.
I'll say Tyron under like 12 or 13 games, and then I'll say Olu. Yeah, I'll say over. He gets like 5 or 6 starts this year.
Yep, that's exactly what I have. Quantez Stigger's defensive snaps. This is a tricky one when you think of overall snaps. 140 is the number. You set this one, and you gave us some context. Eccles played 143 last year. Hall 138. I'm going to say under for the rookie.
I'm going to say over. I don't say that with a lot of confidence just because I think he is a raw player that needs some development, but he looked quite good in the preseason. And if somebody gets hurt, I question how long Eccles will be able to hold him off. So I say over. And, maybe something happens and DJ Reed has to miss a game or 2 or something like that and Stiggers emerges because I think this is going to be a future starter right there.
What do we get? Will McDonald sacks 5.5. I'm going to go under.
I'll go over. I'll say 6.
You were very optimistic.
I know. What is happening to me?
It's the new feed. It's the new excitement.
Yeah, new feed.
It's flight plan.
All positivity.
All positivity from Zack. Mike Williams receptions 50. I say under. I think he gets off to a slow start coming off the injury.
Yeah, I say under too, especially because he's going to be pretty limited to start out the season, I would say.
Alan Lazard receptions 30.5. Now this is really tricky because based on last year, it's a slam dunk under.
Yeah.
But Aaron Rodgers is his boy. So I don't know. I say under.
Yeah, I think under's the safer bet. He had 23 last year, had 60 with Aaron 2 years ago. With Mike being limited to start out, you could see a scenario where Lazard just randomly has a 10 catch game or something to start the season. Not saying I think that'll happen, but it's conceivable. But I'm gonna go under 30 in that eventually Mike Williams just takes over.
Malachi Corley catches and carries. You set this one at 30.5, which to me felt like a low number, so I went over.
I'm gonna go under just because I'm not sure at the beginning part of the season what Corley's role is going to be. It might grow as the season goes on, but I think Xavier Gibson will play more than him to start out.
Okay. Tyler Conklin catches 60.5. I got under.
I'll say over. I think he's going to have a pretty big year if he stays healthy. I think he's going to be, if not number 2 in the pecking order behind Garrett, number 3. So I feel pretty good about him.
Joe Douglas trades for a new player during the season. I have 1.5. Or the line's 1.5. I have over.
I'll say under. He does one trade, maybe for a receiver, maybe the one that everyone dreams of too.
And then finally, last one. This isn't an over/under, just at multiple choice. Which undrafted free agent gets the most playing time? Leonard Taylor, Braden McGregor, Eric Watts.
I'm gonna say Leonard Taylor because he's fourth on the depth chart at defensive tackle right now with Fotu out. So I think he's pretty close. He's a lot closer to getting into the lineup than maybe McGregor or Watts, though. McGregor, I'm intrigued by because I think he's a much better pass rusher than I realized. So if like Will McDonald were to get hurt and or Reddick doesn't come back and, you know, they need somebody to bring some juice in the pass rush, I'm intrigued by that. But yeah, Taylor is the one I would say.
I'm going to go with McGregor just based on the preseason he had and how much he impressed that he'll get in there a decent amount with an, probably does need an injury to happen, but they always seem to. All right, on to the season predictions. We're going to go week by week. Zach, do you want to go just alternate back and forth here for each game?
Yeah, sure.
Week 1, Monday night at the 49ers. Robert Saleh's old team coming off a trip to the Super Bowl, team with Super Bowl aspirations, bright lights, not at MetLife Field. Aaron Rodgers opening a season on Monday Night Football again. I have the Jets losing.
All that build up for that, huh? I say loss just because I still think the Jets offense still needs to figure things out, especially when the bullets are actually flying, as they say, and Rodgers is getting hit. And, you have Tyron Smith going full go against Nick Bosa and Morgan Moses on the other side, and Joe Tippmann, first game fully with Aaron Rodgers. So, and Mike Williams banged up, like all those factors, and the Niners getting Trent Williams back, getting Brandon Ayuk back, Christian McCaffrey's healthy. They've really started to get all their ducks in a row. So I think the Jets are going to be competitive, but I think the 49ers win this one.
All right, short week, 2 short weeks to start things off. That's a lot of what we talked about when the schedule came out. It's Monday night, then Sunday, and then Thursday, just a brutal stretch. And you lose the opener, and it really puts you behind the 8 ball. At the Titans, 2 road games also to open up. At the Titans, week 2, I have them winning that one. I don't feel supremely confident about that pick, but I have them winning.
Yeah, I actually think the Titans are going to be sneaky good this year. I think they added a lot of talent this offseason. But yeah, I have that as a Jets win.
All right, Patriots, Thursday night. I mean, I watched one Patriots game this preseason, and I think they're going to lose a lot of games. I think the Jets,
they're quite
even
bad.
with the 3 games in whatever many days it is, 11 days. I still think that they handle the Patriots at home. It's going to be electric at MetLife. That'll get them past any soreness or tiredness through the schedule, and they take care of business against the Patriots.
It'd be highly disappointing if they do anything but whoop the Patriots that week, especially because you finally have the Patriots down after years of the Patriots just destroying the Jets when they were down. So I think the Jets will be chomping at the bit to just go out and dominate them. And if they don't, it'll be disappointing. Like a win, no matter what, is good, but it's got to be a big win. Like give Jets fans some happiness against New England.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have them just going on a run here after the opening loss, and really putting them in a great spot. We'll see how it goes. But week 4, Broncos at home again. I feel like year 2 of Peyton there, they're going to be much improved. But at rookie quarterback, I think the Jets capitalize on a rookie quarterback and take care of it with the win.
Yep, I got to win on that one too. Not like you said. I think the Broncos should be better, but nobody really knows what Bo Nix is going to be as a rookie. So.
And then Zack goes to London for the Vikings. Sam Darnold game, JJ McCarthy banged up. We'll see, but I have them winning that one overseas. Technically a road game.
I have the Jets losing that one. I think the Vikings, depends on how Sam Darnold is, but I do think they're pretty good. And the London trip's always tough. So I had a loss, honestly, partially because I have the Jets winning. Then, not to spoil too much, I have the Jets winning a few games in a row after this. So I didn't want it to be like a 9-game winning streak or something like that. So.
Yeah, that's the problem that I have here. Yeah. That was like, oh, this can't happen in the NFL, but so be it. This was the trip that I thought you were going to end up proposing, going overseas, little romance, but you,
as did my fiance,
already got that out of the way. So there you go. Okay. Bills at home, Monday Night Football. This is going to bring back all kinds of terrible memories for Jets fans, obviously. I think they get the revenge, they slay the demons, and they win this one.
Yeah, I think so too. I I'm very curious to see how Buffalo looks to start the season because I think there are a lot of people who are expecting their downfall a little bit. I'm not as convinced. They do have Josh Allen, but for now, I have the Jets winning that game.
At the Steelers, week 7, I have them winning that one. I don't know what the Steelers are.
Yeah.
I assume they'll go 9-8 because
Yeah.
they never have a losing record, but I think the Jets get them.
Yeah, their quarterback situation is very weird, as it has been for a long time. They do have a very good defense, so I would never count out the Steelers. But again, I have the Jets winning that one, and maybe Aaron Rodgers can match Zach Wilson's Hall of Fame fourth quarter performance that it seems like people still talk about to this day. So from a couple years ago. But yeah, I have them winning that one.
All right, week 8 at New England, I have them sweeping the Patriots. I didn't do the research on when the last time they swept the Patriots
Oh
was.
man, that's a good question. And it gives me hesitance, but again, the Patriots are going to be dog shit this year. So I say the Jets win that one as well. And then it gets a little harder now coming up. I think the opponents coming up, I'm a little higher on.
Yeah, Thursday night football, short week against the Texans. I have them losing that one. And that would, for my schedule, that snaps a 7-game win streak. Yeah. At that point, the Jets would be 7-1 and the talk of the NFL, Zach, but then it'll come tumbling down a little bit against the Texans on Thursday night at home.
Yeah, I think I have them at 6-2 going into that game. Short week, or I guess short week.
Yes. Yeah.
So I have them losing that one. Houston should be a contender, so got a loss on that.
Boy Green says he thinks 2001 was the last time the Jets swept the Patriots.
Wow.
There you go. Cardinals, week 10 in Arizona. I have them getting back on track with a win.
I actually have a loss here. I think the West Coast trips are tough, and I actually think the Cardinals are going to be a surprise team this year. I think they have some pieces. I think Kyler Murray should be better. They have Marvin Harrison. They have some interesting guys on defense. Jonathan Gannon is a better coach than I expected. So I have a loss on that one, but not a lot of confidence, I would say.
Jeffrey Snuffin says 2002. So now it's a fight.
So around that range. When Aaron Rodgers was like
over 20 years.
Aaron Rodgers was in college back that year. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah, exactly. So the one thing I haven't accounted for in this is the fact that I predicted that Rodgers would miss 3 or 4 games. And obviously, depending on if that happens, where that falls, there's going to be some more losses. But after going out to Arizona, they're back home for the Colts on Sunday night under the lights. I have them winning that one. Heading to the bye.
I have them winning that one. The Colts are another team that I actually think has some interesting talent. If Anthony Richardson's any good, if he's not, they have Joe Flacco waiting in the wings, and then they'll win every game. So, but yeah, I think the Colts are good, but I have the Jets winning that one going into their bye week.
So I have them at 10-2 heading into the bye, but I have a tough final stretch of the season. They almost need to, I mean, to this point, leading up to the bye, a lot of these games are very winnable as far as what you think talent-wise. The schedule itself is the toughest part, and the travel and the short weeks. But after the bye, I think the games get trickier. But they start with a home game against the Seahawks. I think they win that one.
I had them winning that. And again, I think the Seahawks could be a surprise team this year, a little rejuvenated with a new coach with a defensive mindset. Depends on what you think about like Geno Smith or Sam Howell quarterback wise. But yeah, I think the Jets, they should win that game. They're more talented, but the Seahawks are feisty, I think.
All right, week 14 at the Dolphins, loss for me.
Yeah, I got a loss at that one. It's kind of what you do with these schedules. You kind of like split a bunch of the division games. So going at Miami, it seems like, that's a place where they've had a lot of weird stuff happen recent years. So I have a loss for that one.
Jaguars on the road. I have them losing that one too.
Yeah, winning that one. I'm not very high on the Jaguars, frankly.
Back home for Mike LaFleur's return to MetLife against the Rams. I have them winning that one.
I have them losing that one. I think the Rams are an NFC contender this year if Matthew Stafford is healthy.
All right, then at Buffalo, I have them losing.
Same as me. Same reason as I said, you kind of just like split the division games.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but Dolphins, I actually have them. I have the Dolphins sweeping them.
Oh, wow.
Hopefully week 18 doesn't matter. They have a lot of things wrapped up, but I have the Dolphins taking them down at home in week 18.
Yeah, I have a win that week, and I believe that ends at 10-7 for me. So 10 wins, you get in the playoffs. compete for the division, feel pretty good.
And I have 11-6, but if you just said, what are the Jets going to do this season? And we didn't go game by game, I think I would say 10-7. But we went through the weeks, and so there's probably maybe a loss in there with Rodgers getting banged up, missing some time. But hey, this is an optimistic podcast, Zach.
Yeah, man.
We're both saying playoffs.
We've turned over a new leaf.
Yeah, 10-7, 11-6. I don't know, like in the AFC East this season, if they're 11-6, like, can you win the division at 11-6?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe, right? Like,
yeah,
it seems like,
I think it's gonna be Dolphins, Bills, Jets are all in the 10 to 12 win range. I think all three are gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
so it could end up like based on I say Dolphins, sweep them. That could be the difference maker. Maybe it's a tiebreaker and they lose to the Dolphins, but maybe not. Like, who knows?
The Jets, by the way, and we should say, like, they became the favorite in the AFC East. I think there's probably been a lot of action on them because a lot of people have been talking about them. They're the favorite right now, which is kind of crazy to think about because they haven't even made the playoffs in 13 years. So, but yeah, I think they're the most talented team in the division. But the Bills have the best quarterback. The Dolphins have maybe the best player, Tyreek Hill. And the Jets have the best roster. So it's
Jets have the best defense. Yeah.
Best defense, best roster, and then the Patriots are there also. So so it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna come down to the end of the season.
It's gonna be fun. It's certainly gonna be fun, and it's gonna start on Monday night. We will be back to recap that one Tuesday at some point, Zach.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
What we're thinking is not a full length 45 minute podcast, but a shorter look at the game, probably like just digging into a few key moments and talking it over and talking about what you heard, in the locker room and that kind of stuff, the inside info. And that's what we'll do post game. We are excited about that. And you heard it here, not first, but you heard it here. The Jets are heading back to the playoffs.
Yeah, no, we're the first ones to say it, I think. But yeah, make sure you all subscribe here if you haven't already, and subscribe to the Patreon, the Badlands, which I'm sure Tim will put a link in the show notes. So, yeah, we'll get our first post game pod coming up. I'm excited.
Slam that thumbs up button, as they say.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Flight Plan. I almost said the old name. On Flight Plan. We'll be back after the Jets season opener Monday night in San Francisco. Aaron Rodgers is going to get through it healthy and throw some touchdown passes. We're excited. Bye-bye.